Also, and so we say riding in the ma at the new year. Send your house to TV. No, in Yankopon or in couldn't default. Some pie one what they said they are more to riding and radibity obey. When you enemy him tie that. So you don't for a mobile home for. I mean, say, obey na my yakuma swadi ID to Nimono and Yapada City Biano, be your pipe no amount. You were not ray, say, yes, because I say, no money does so, they say no, no, because seeming for no, a doors will be and Imana does so. Inti ye bono tete say, be ya, a bit to me, Akoda name Puchna Homida, yetimi sorry. Na afei so yetimi ato adumedi a aka no so na yetimi di akọ ewie pa de nhyira erade ahye ye ho bọ no ena ne mpanifo de ama me se menka ho asem no wa to din say give ye them to eat fama won ni asema won bibi enni eno na enenumre no ye behwe Desire of Ages chapter 39 no ena ode sansem wi emaye ti eno ena enenumre ye ba abehwe na sana no moma yensi entrase na yemmo empire wo bra ye hyase no onyame tumfo yeda wase enenso no na modom so aboye ho ba kra yeso di abedroni mesrewa se rade enenso famemu ne kasa shewde kunkun no nyama wo ma yemfa asedane ayeye ne tontoma Jesus Christ dim amen. Also give them to eat and I say give them to eat ma won bibi enni I'm right and mama wa to the Desire of Ages cinema na ewo na kin cancer na we gina so ne dose but we na me fa John and I say John chapter 6 and verse 1 to 13 no and I'm person enumere itina so na ye de ekasa e baba woman no say Mr. me kan brofo kakra say after these things Jesus went over the sea of Galilee, which is the sea of Tiberias. Then a great multitude followed him because they saw his signs which he performed on those who were diseased. And Jesus went up on the mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. Now the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was near. Then Jesus lifted up his eyes and seeing a great multitude coming toward him, he said to Philip, where shall we buy bread that these may eat? But this he said to test him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 denarii worth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may have a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, there is a lad here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 small fish. But what are they among so many? Then Jesus said, make the people sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down in number about 5,000. And Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to the disciples, and the disciples to those sitting down, and likewise of the fish, as much as they wanted. So when they were filled, he said to his disciples, gather up the fragments that remain, so that nothing is lost. Therefore, they gathered them up and filled 12 baskets with the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, which were left over by those who had eaten. Eradi Nyankopon asem nim say wo twi Bible no a udidi echi wo say, I want to say Christ had retired to a secluded place with his disciples. But this rare reason of peaceful quietude was soon broken. The disciples thought they had retired where they would not be disturbed. But as soon as the multitude mixed the divine teacher, they inquired, "Where is he?" Some among them had noticed the direction in which Christ and his disciples had gone. So kaya John die on the chremu kaya yes Christo fast so our ma won biane die. But so come to Mark Luke no ni na no ka sem baako. Na ne wo kye say yes Christo aka sam ekre ni pekuo bebre ni dwumadi a oba asase so obedi ni say obekekere. To see yes Christo nsam na wo kekere improfo koko no na wo dan to mi pone di kire won no eka wakoma ehye won ema wodi ti yes Christo nsam no. But the brand some no koso na aise wo tie won yes Christo wo tie yes Christo nsam no na koso na do point bi no na suafo no free hu sa aise wo wura no wabre yesu abre nti no decide say ombekọ kope baabi akwakobo won hu adwa na baabi a wakobo won hu adwa
na asembia no say ehame America ana betia nam gas wo from nti me ye na say wo ti
Lucy.
Hello.
Lucy, how do I need to be tawai? Mo nyame nhyraw nkomo no matinti ekire mebusawo yo o say ebra Yesu Kristo ebra o bresa so o fa kodo ti ma mo to say o fa kodo no a okono o say enam ne nsam pa o kaaye ani samwa o tie ye ne se ne sitie ne ntino say many went by land to meet him. To meet them, because say as and some now catch one yen somewhere a more sham and someone no munti bida ayarsana was sane mana wa yen young one into a white say obeko obetuano wako pet and sounded the breti. I can cancel say bra yes Christo can some that time no so not pass over feast no sober. Shem afashion over. Na twam afahye no susu eduru honomo a o se esuafo anase ahoho efri mia dufo no bebi otiti nyina ba Jerusalem eba be ye Passover feast no enti sabre na Yesu Kristo ka asem no na sa period na ye Passover feast ni nti no o se like some say abahoho aba na wo ti Yesu Kristo nsem a wo ka no mu ti nsem ka aso mu ti bi da no o mani je ho so mo betie mo. It's a brave yes, Christian in a sphere for no, Afakudo Mocha and Son Copper baby atena Aquadua Homeno was a dominant dew chintina. I might say many went by land to meet them, while others follow in their boats across the water. The Passover was at hand, and from far and near bands of pilgrims on their way to Jerusalem gathered to see Jesus, because no matter yes, Christian some baby. Was in addition were made to their number until they were assembled 5,000 men beside women and children. And to Abra at the yes Christian is for the almost time baby or home. On the movie said the omabre and a domura dinner home was a domi. Hwese mema o osi mema ebi tipo so ebi nam fam ebi tese kwan omofa so omokopie bebi a Yesu Kristo wo ebusebusa ekope bebi a Yesu Kristo was before Christ reached the shore. A multitude were waiting for him. But he landed unobserved by them and spent a little time apart with his disciples. And now so say yes Christ on the life for none say. Now one in the share for an account, they so bet me identify and say winning. And to my wife to say to sign to me, a dodgy crack or te baby, cordina home. And I'm told you on my 2 man, baby, heart, Tiana, ye hear home, dear crass, so for some penny for. And then would have said Zoom say, Cananaka, you shall Zoom is one any pabe 30, 40, by never number also. Yea, fatigue here, bread. No says, Sana, it's here. Because any personal, Yahona running in flesh, and to me, home pay. Send the Yesu kind and spirit, a welling. But in the pediano amre, and to me, oh, and to do baby, I am re. Eti, yes, Christo, now send one per Biemu. Now, no one in a main tino. Also, no was acting canny. It was so a tinny far breaker crabby cotana baby, so dinner home. And a home genie mono. Or see the multitude, from the hillside, and he looked upon the moving multitude. Yes, Christian is fear for no at all audio mahumi will be ponun channel and chain baby who said Domino a baby. And his heart was stirred with sympathy. Was yes, Christo Francia in yating can be interrupted as he was and robbed of his rest. It's a bass animal who said, and who here saw Bettina whom he beam. Because what she dominate bano, no of his senior musity no, I was he was not impatient. Why not? Because he saw a great necessity demanding his attention as he watched the people coming and still coming. No one send a war banner, domino, send was see banner. Yes, Christian who said there be one to mean tenacity shit. And Yanum say Radina Kupa some Kawakuma who here. So share Radia some Radina Kupa sem. Not a summon to more. One to mean tenacity, one to mean tena. Because I would think somewhere cosu a film. So I would think somewhere air cosu a mountain so. So I would think somewhere cosu a busuye bimu. Wote and somewhere air cosu our dumemuni near me be air cosu. Ye be before crowd. You want to be brought no more. I say a TV be a home community and a TV. But I brought phone. I know me when never be pre cosu my problem. They cannot explain. No one be so mobile share chewon. I can't was so much to obey the memoir. To be no abandoned in any brave arbitration also. To be our banners for the how and stress ever be good. So Miss Strow, so one is manning how be brave and manning how be brave. Look, Boneka look beyond the facade. Shenia watchery. Shenientia or yes, sir. If you bet you must any kunumpe jan ho. Every chronic abuse no, ni abuse no, ni cry a drunkard or no sasa when ya daddy mano, ben mano, every cry or barno crano, one num, one tiffy upon one way Gianni, and as what be permanent could just say, there's so many things going on like yes to you. You might be brain air coso, I will see no. A duman koye sikasem koye, ain't se banasa. Nothing can be my union, send a yes to nothing come out. Because was shook of folk could send a war banner or say, when nothing cause he was moved with compassion towards them. When nothing more probably nothing can be because they were as sheep not having a shepherd. When who say, well, you only a so for Sana yes to who say, ye who yes, sir. Say ye who brackna asafono sa ye who abusua bi said da ho a eda ho a say any person for ebe kaya kuma say ye kan yes Christ akuma no was living his retreat no yes Christ jai say wo na home no he found a convenient place where he could minister to them it was ye not say obeja ne wo ye bia na wasom wo. So they received no help from the people who said, as so from penny rulers no obedient to me dear Nikasam and Sabi, the way or see our hununti and Nipanu nya enya adumbi any homobrobi in free but whom say he was the healing waters of life flow from him as he taught the multitude the way of salvation. Jesus Christ who said, "Dwumadi a obedi no asase no so no." Nti esese o man ho kwan na Ewurade timidi no ye adwuma. Because say the people listening to the words of mercy flowing so freely from the lips of the Son of God, they heard the gracious words so simply and so plain that they were as the balm of Gilead to their soul. Because no thing say me to say yache. Because yes, Christ was say onyankopon honhom no wo me so. Honhom no wo me so say many one wa or broken hearted. One wa bon some do agu afiase. One wa yade do agu afiase me. Yes, Christ me ba say safwe yi no me set won free. Na wo monti asem we bi da because na Roma in here e hye won so, Pharisee fo hye won so, Sadducee fo hye won so, chese bibi bia omunya omo ho dwa chese bibi omutimi nti omo ho. Or how it does so. But they saw the words, and I said they listened to the words of mercy from Jesus. No more standing some. It's like a healing, like I say, it's like a balm of Gilead to their soul. The healing of his divine hand brought gladness and life to the dying and ease and health to those suffering with disease. Yes, Christ fast so was say dear Chinipa. Was it the day seems to them like heaven upon earth? And they were utterly unconscious of how long it had been since they had eaten like it. And teacher said, like I said, I want to yes, Christ, but I said, I want teachers, I want to come to hear any other person can say. So we know that it's an city, ready, yes, Christ, or someone. So far, Bible now can a home no domo bow. Nami try to show you catch and say, home no yame, home no kaya home. Home no akasa yenyame etibre bia woto nsafra honhom se wo mra mu bia no boa wo omo onyakopa asem ne ye sweet omo onyakopa asem ne te se honey omo onyakopa asem no mu da homa wo eti the more wo share rade asem the more wo tre rade asem ne mu the more wo kan na homache the more wo kan na numre the more wo kan na wia the more wo meditate na wo sua no it's like a journey to your soul enti ana wo nya tinka bi mpo se komedo ebrebia honhom no ye wo sa bia no sa na tie to se sa na nkrofo kokko no hu no enti na wo mu nya tinka bi se komedo wo mama want to say at length the day was fast spent, the sun was sinking in the west, yet the people lingered because he said, Afina adiesa no. Afro who say adiesa for the Neduane ebedi, but Neduane bien ho. Neduane bien ho. And he said, yes, because he was pale from weariness and anger, and the disciple besought him to cease from his toil. Tina, it's from crowd and yes, Christo crabre or no musabre. Tempe baby man and tempe baby man in the, but he could not withdraw himself from the multitude that pressed upon him. Na yes, Christo to me ten home because he said, Domina ne ban soon doso. In Mianum ya jing come son or babayoe. So also sa, so my whole kind sa. Ni pabe babe hu ebebe hu Awurade afa mu se no se bo ateto ne dwom no so hwehwe me no mie no mu na wa hu Yesu a he no be hu Awurade. It was said the disciples finally came to him arguing him that for their own sake the people should be sent away. Afina esuafo na agitated. I said omadwe o say dabi nipa dom ne do so dodo. Sene a wosi bu fire di nkwa isu yi no se yakoka bibia nkyere no anka nkyere se wo mo nkwa a sa ne pako dom bebrebe we be yeden ne aduane ma wadi because many had come from far and had eaten nothing since morning. In the surrounding towns and villages they might be able to buy food to pamom nko ediom ko metri akokonya aduane di, but Jesus said give eat them to eat. Na so Yesu Kristo se da bi mo ma wan aduane ni. And then turn to Philip, question, when shall we buy bread that these may eat? This he said to test the faith of the disciple. Yes, Christ no nim ya waka. Philip ne suafo no mu Yesu. Enua na besa me kan se Bible say nyam sompa. Ene se ye hwe nwisia ni nyankawo. Ni nyam sompa ene se ye de Bible bashi ye ka Bible mu nsem ni ye de bo ni ye ka Bible nsem ane eye se ye sua Bible no. Eye se ye ka nsem kire won. Eye se mo mu se Yesu ba. Ehia o ese mo mu hunu se mark of the beast no ba. Ese se mo mu hunu se ane encha temu obi ba. But from this time to time will be DNA omubedi. We have to provide for them to eat physically. Eti brakna safwe ne se ne eka komkra tna se shishe ye bi ni eka se for the give 5 £5 just a month. Se fatu hofa ko boy hiafo ni mobrofobia ntutu free mu ni wu free mu. Because yes Christ catch Philip said give them to eat. Give ye them to eat. Because no matter what, as I say, a flower to ma, as I say, a more gianidi, as I say, a school die no, as I say, a see hospital no, as I say, a humanitarian work, because they are part of our job. Yes, Christ say, give ye them to eat. More gianini Philip. Also, yes, Christ Kasana or kind, and now he was tested. Now also Philip. Because let be beer one is a women that can be for blackness. I am more continue create. When I could first with blackness of here, do I hear you okay? A basic then it means Cassie at a Sunday in a year. She knew my hear you. And the Sunday at a Sunday you year mortgage. Who's really be as you year? A quite many first in this canoe. I just want you to know, say the provider, Jesus himself, okay. Anytime you because say young koye nimu na yengi bibi no ono na ye provider no because Wakachi John said was this he said to test the faith of Philip. Misuani no. Amwadini ni wonsamu ntumi. So nyame sit down on dance for ye kwawo. Ntumi. Na Yesu ni me na wo. So Philip looked over the sea of earth and thought how impossible it would be to provide food to satisfy the wants of such a crowd. Philip do only kakraka. When you penny so they impossible. Sanity, ni penny so impossible. Edding pass yuma. Everything rapani to chrome. Impossible. But before God, possible. Say the amutre radin yankupon so he can satisfy. Because any perfect be a yane or home be. I knew your home to suffer Philip. Your Philip for be way oh yen to me. Now suffocate away. Any sikaya saying, and a yen to me, and a yen to me. I did be a ride, didn't cost so bone, Yakupa Safu, Sassafun Betimia Kosubi, any a botu yen to me. Yes, we are like Philip. Crowded your soto yen to me. How could we satisfy 5,000 men? A morning kwadakra mai. A bear then ye timia ye sika fia we then ye bet me dia yonte ye bar for dia you don't want to be contribute because why do you say we do must say why do you say it's kind of what your bills and what your credit card and what your abusia go so do so do tight and crowd so big because I been here say to me because you like a Philip. But he answered, was Jesus answered that 200, also Philip can say 200 impos, denarii, this Kakasia Pao, Yetokrai cannot even satisfy them. Yes, Christopher was so adrition, but Andrew, the spirit of Andrew, no. And I'm a person blackness for so one tissue and film when in mayor. And then I'm a person with you. Yes, Christus for do me, no. I don't want to know be when the character they crano. Andrew character they crano say Benny, so do any better to me, Tamami, why? Benny, that's it. Yeah. Oh, say, Andrew. Ebra Yesu Christo kanyam sam che krofa kokoni nyina no. Andrew was going round with a woman, no na woman, and a wash a woman near Kosunina. And Andrew character and say, now or Shania my Kosun, no one how one air Kosuo and Crofo Kokono. No one he saw everything. Etinaka Yabeka Andrew, Yabeka Seneko, a deacon, and I say a chief deacon. Because Sena or no one name. Onam microphone mu saa na on do di akoniaba no wohwe tayarefo ewomu ebubuafo ewomu obrofo ewomu on ne dia o ya na se saa microphone nko a na wohwehwe wo saa to man wodi no he was the only disciple saw sakwada bi wo mu a owo pan no num ene fish ni no Andrew Etebra oti say yes Kristo aka no Paulo dim ka yes Kristo say me de me hu akwala bi wa ha o akwala ni kura pa no num na abo ayi any fish mienu yes Kristo say let them sit mo wantina say mo ma wantina sinsan so na mo group want they group them 50 100 50 100 I don't know how many hours they were able to do that but Bible say he grouped them because Andrew saw it. Now see, a brother and saying, when this was accomplished, Jesus took the bread and looked up to heaven. He blessed and break and give the loaves to his disciple and the disciple to the multitude, and they did all eat and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of fragments and of the fishes. Also, the Afinanian baby aka. Na wasi sa asia ni akeka no Yesu Kristo ka cho sta momo aboa no moma bibi biara nra momo ano na mosesa ni nyina momo ani nyina no because say pese me kire mo say masem mu no anase the way aduma no sitie na ense se bibi yire free masem mu ense se bibi efree tom efree masem mu na Yesu Kristo ka kire kofa kokono ka Matthew chapter 5 na was say ensensaye ba kumpo mfiri nto emfiri mranu mu nto da sani na be mu ansa ne na Yesu Kristo pese o ka kire o mo no se empropro na mo sesa no kire mo se masem ne maka no ebi mfiri nto da ni nyina be di nkunim ansa and then when I say the people were weary and faint. They were mothers with babies in their arms and little children clinging to their skirts. Nansu Yesu Kristo. Kunyankopɔn ba no de n'asɛm no ma akrɔfo kokore tena ase na ɔnam n'asɛm no so ɛma waduane di. Because Christ never worked a miracle except to supply a genuine necessity. And every miracle was a character to lead the people to the tree of life, whose leaves are for the healing of the nation. The simple food passed around by the hands of the disciples contained a whole treasure of lesson. It was humble fare that had been provided. The fishes and the barley loaves were the daily food of their fisher folk about the Sea of Galilee. Now, with him, Nancy Yesu Kristo gina stars to my way so did the baby chair was say, Only in Kwabo, he is the master provider. Aduane bi kra na nhye da nye aduane bi pan no bi ne fish Galilee nsu no ho ene ne common aduane a na omudie but Yesu Kristo tim de yanwamade e ma dom ne hunu se ampa Nyankopon ne wonyame a wotumi ade nyina ye Yesu Kristo anya ade because never did people enjoy the luxurious and feast prepared for the gratification of perverted taste as these people enjoy the rest and the simple food which Jesus provided so far from human habitation. A simple food. But the Bible says, may maybe crack high and my no. And we are never say me can say. A dear yes kiss to you know, dead deep fame, my yes, you know, a brab bomuse. A brave radin yanko pon bad dear Adam and Eve and San and I copesta or your Nakin yanko pon papa say he will provide them something or say the as did Adam and Eve in the beginning, there will be an abundant supply for the needs of the human family. There have been fewer imagery wants and more opportunities to work in God's way, but selfishness and the indulgence of our natural tastes have brought sin and mystery into the world from excess on the one hand and from want on the other. Na konyaku potin popano. Nenso pesemen kumnya. Any nipa minunti. Emma boni by man yakupon supply na sa kwade mayendi. Na keduane tra ye nchema ki di ni ke bedi di wo bra ka ye mre wadidie ho no. Ene abeye haw amaye. Sabe bra Israel for the nam sre no so. Na what team say come de Onyankopon ye bibi ma wotoma na ma wodi. Onyankopon to pan no free heaven e de pray wo ma wodi. Yes ki so ye oni pan pim no mi de di pefe se na ni team papa ne se. Radi Onyankopon be fidi ye ko be ma ye aduane di. Ko be ma ye atade ahye ko be ma ye mtumefra. Ko be ma ye baby ada. Can he will provide everything for us. So Matthew chapter 7. So 23 neighbor was saying, Mamma, you will be dealing in but the day Noah will take care of himself. Because the Radina coupon she shen dada. Then so the pa, your selfishness in it. And to me, because Jesus did not seek to attract the people to him by gratifying the desire for luxury. Nay, yes, to trim pono. Certainly, Panababa change because sending Yama or Tumia and then Pablo so okay, what to me be Debbie, also to that great strong, weary and hungry after the long, exciting day. The simple fare was an assurance not only of his power, but of his tender care for them in the common needs of life. Yes, get to trim papa. So, Bemo say. And yes, or bar say, oh, to me the baby, I to me no, but then I will yes to trim pan. So who say he has tender care or tree or doye. The basane mood no petayen so. Only via sea dinqua. And to be biara obedi na chino, yen ni na tise ye di na tise ye companion my papa be a casembini debi nyanunti dinachi. Ye dinachi a plain. Na ay see a dinachi sebeya, obey yen a fee a rare one year how near my name. He will supply us because he has promised that which is far better than worldly good, the abiding comfort of his own presence. So on yen tianuti and no kwa sombo because I say, well, I must say, baby, we are saying when you're dear, nemo ba say, Ibinya atom, Ibinya mo prohono, and in sha every one. And I'm right to catch it. Also, in feeding the 5,000, Jesus lifted the veil from the world of nature and reveals the power that is constantly exercised for our good. In the production of earth harvest, God is working a miracle every day. Through natural agencies, the same work is accomplished that was rough in the feeding of the multitude. I am the power. And my mind to what can say. I dear yes, so you know, to my can be free. Ye nim. Am I who say? Ye nyanko pony, ye won yanko poma a bribiara or your miracle or your problem. He renews everything. He renews everything in our lives. Now, so kind of Lamentation chapter 3, verse 22. No say, or say, ne humo brono, ya fufro anope biara. It renews every morning. If you want to pardon, no, it is a pano. Or tuna no pe biara she manema. And let the munya ne humo broni na sa abesi ne de ni na abesi. Echina obesa ye no foforo na wasa de amount. Etina limitation ka se e renew. Awurade na akopon oye no foforo anope biara. Ema me no mi no. Eti anope biara wo sori a and sorry wo bra wo mompa yen kanche Awurade say renew your faithfulness and I say your mercy in my life. Renew me dear, renew me my dear, renew me crew dear, renew me nuanom dear. And sorry pay him for working dear no share. Nam fa jacket in so say my late me dim ka kwa aduma wo bra wo nko Awurade nim anko pardon for. Because I'm right to say God is working miracle every day on my empano for. Through natural agencies, the same work is accomplished. Send you see when you pump in the one, and that's why you do my business. Ready, yes, he's to shrabo those manima and a pay biara. My adam for fro, my adam for fro, my ancient for fro, my ahwade for fro, my enshra for fro, my ahwade for fro, I sign for fro, and it does so for fro, I are suffer fro, and a pay biara. He renews them, my. Pastor one calling chair winya. So here I say yes, kiss was sharp pan on so. Sharp pan on so we no one could chill. And what the ma the swing for. But this is Peter and John is as among Conam Frank. Was it the more they were giving? A show most no bono and a dosu, net dosu. Nipanu di enter radina and coupon agents. It is a one so sorry no partner one kwaje adom no a ontumi ma obi nhira mane ngege ontumi ma ho ade foforo ma obi so mane ngege pastor wo gina no pa no omu yedu na omu yedu so a wo che mane so obiara so et working colleagues no sa wo kwada ne wura ho na ba mu abu yira ba mu abu kuna ba mu abu mofra na ba mu abu a wo bia wano na wo kasa wo timi sa wo nsam no e ma ho ade me nkura ne e hya ho e hya din wo bom paye no so egina so cast some sort to me one if you say you have renewed it. Well, I said what ya domino no panel if the one son I walk. At the same time, yes, Christian is share for me. Pepe. I said, why dear domino? Was yet dear prepare. Was the man prepare the soil and sow the seed, but it is the life from God that causes the seed to germinate. It is God's rain and air and sunshine that causes it to be to put forth first blade, then the year after that, the full corn in the year. And tell you, Radina, yeah, dear, and say you dear. The choir first say you dear and say you come up apart. You know, don't know. On one go soon. On one man from a viabo. On one a man if free. But they are shedding kunkunen one yam. Seradina and coupon. I near do manua. And ye. At the end, they were free and saying a call as cooperating with God in the care of the grain and the preparation of the love. And because of this, they lose sight of the divine agency. They do not give God the glory due unto his holy name, the working of his power to ascribe to natural causes or to human instrumentality. Yet they do want for. Say you may own eradi the young ebeyo. And then me never say me can say and chum the master the query. Nema oma the person catch him no me name say. Man is glorified in place of God, and his gracious gifts are perverted to selfish use. Awurade dom yɛn na wɔma yɛ ahoɔden bi. Ne yɛtim de yɛ biribi a mama yɛmfa nhoahoae. Ne Awurade Nyankopɔn de ama yɛn biara sɛ yɛmfa nyɛ adwuma biara yɛ adom. And made the curse instead of blessing. Ebere biara yɛbɛgye adom no na yɛbɛma no selfish abɛsi anam. Na yɛde tutu yɛn ho sɛ me deɛ manto dom no a ma mpaeɛ no a ma mekyɛ sɛ aba school no a ɛnyɛ yie na yɛgye adom no gye nhyira no ma yɛn ho no dane no main instead of sɛ ɛbɛyɛ nhyira. God is seeking to change all this. He desired that our dull senses shall be quickened to discern his merciful kindness and to glorify him for the working of his power. Ne Awurade hwehwɛ firi me no mmienu ha no. Sɛ ɛbɛma no kwan ma yɛadwene yi a atɔ baha yi. Yɛne yɛyi a akɔdi sɛ bibonsam no ɔna control yɛn no. Sɛ Awurade kwan na wɔfa yɛ akoma no fa yɛ adwene na wɔsɛ ɔbɛma yɛ adwene a ɛyɛ discernment. Ne discernment ne sɛ adwene yɛbɛnya mmɔborɔhu no. Yɛbɛnya kan sɛ atinka. Na ɛba no saa. Yɛbɛyi na yɛwɔ duma ne tumi yɛ no mu. He desires us to recognize him as his gifts. That they may be, as he intended, a blessing to us. Sɛ Awurade Nyankopɔn kwan saa, nneɛma bɛsisi. It was to accomplish his purpose that the miracle of Christ was performed. Yes, Kristo yɛ saa de wi sɛ nipa bɛdi animuonyam. Sɛ wɔn animuonyam no bɛba ne ho nti. Na ɔyɛ ɔyɛ. Ɛno nti na ɔma a wɔtɛtena ase na ɔma a wɔaduane die. Ɛna nnumere yi, Yesu Kristo ma wɔaduane die ɔsa asɛm popo a sɛnea mekaeɛ no. Adesua mmienu ne wɔ mu. Yɛdi kan no mpɛ sɛ bɛwɛsti no mpɛ sɛ aduane no bi bɛyera. Sɛ mede ka sɛ Awurade Nyankopɔn asɛm ebi nyera da ɛmfiri tontɔ fam da. Ɛbɛdi nkonim. Na yɛbɛboaboa Nyankopɔn asɛm no ano saa. Na baabi biara ɛsɛ sɛ ɛkɔ biara na ɛyɛ nkonimdie biara bɛkɔ. Awurade Nyankopɔn ma n'asɛm no bi nyera. And anyway, nothing was to be lost. Not one word that concerned their eternal salvation was to fall useless to the ground. Dabi. Awurade Nyankopɔn asɛm ɛmfiri tɔ da ɛnyera wɔ brɛ nyɛ adwuma. Ti nsɛm a Bible aka nyinaa bɛbɛm. Na Awurade Nyankopɔn ahyɛ ho bɔ bia bɛbɛm. Ebi bia na ɔbɛfira tɔ wɔ brɛ ɛbɛyera da. Ɛbɛyɛ adwuma. Ɔbɛma yɛ aboaboa no. Na ɛbɛyɛ adwuma. Efi tɔ kora ɔbɛma yɛ ahwehwɛ ne yɛakɔpɛ. Sɛnea ɔbaa no pra yɛ akɔtu nso ohun ditabrɛ na ayera no fa yɛ no. Yɛbɛhwehwɛ ne yɛbɛhunu. Awurade Nyankopɔn asɛm ntɔ fam nyera o. Ɛbɛdi nkonim. It is ɔka wɔhyɛ me no mmienu bɔ sɛ wɔba bie mu ɛyɛ nokorɛ. Ɔso ɔba bɛbu atɛn a ɛyɛ nokorɛ. Ɔse gyae wo bɔne, gyae amanso no, gyae kayɔ ne nneɛma tete saa no a ɛyɛ nokorɛ. Firi sɛ Awurade Nyankopɔn asɛm ɛnyera da. Adesua bi ma mepɛ sɛ wonya firi mu so the miracle of the Lord teaches a lesson of dependence upon God. Yɛtumi nyɛ biribi wɔ berɛ a Awurade Nyankopɔn ka ho. When Christ fed the 5,000, the food was not nigh at hand. Apparently, he had no means at his command. Here he was with 5,000 men beside women and children in the wilderness. He had not invited a large multitude to follow him. They came without invitation or command. But he knew that after they had listened so long to his instructions, they would feel hungry and faint. For he was one with them in their need of food. Yes, Christo huni. Sanasem no can be twidom bebre, na twidom bebre so a. One necessary more duane because I don't think our buy. Sarah person choni onti na our buy and is in his command. Ayene say as wo ma wan duane di because wo say nipa no kombe di won so kombe di won obe hia duane and ebe biara onyankopon se beba yen so na rade di ebe ye adwuma bia na rade na kopon trim pon say we feed them ye ma wan duane di Viasi ya toba haya rehwane ni dasweni na asen. Eya imi no mi enu asede. Si ema wa aduane di. Ene numre. So what ti ase sa. Ena wo gi atum sa. Ewrade be boa wo. Ewrade be boa me so. Na yebehunu Ewrade Nyankopɔn no munyam. Because Isaiah ngoma ne tell ye duonum wotwe chichimum so no kosi do say Christ has bidden us through the prophet, deal thy bread to the hungry. Wasiyama won come di one aduane ni. And satisfy the afflicted soul. One wa kuma brefo kuma ne pura. Amane ni yaw na reho bi nti wabamu abuo. Why single parent? Wamagu wan so aye yade. Abusua no mu atete. Adwuma asem aye de no. I said, we satisfy the afflicted soul. When thou say the naked, who saw that the jar, you frown to ma. Bring the poor that are cast out to the house. One more won't need be in yen for one refugee. Yes, Christo can be must go ye all the world and preach the gospel to the creature, to every creature. Yen cast and padding through be piara. So be when Ewrade Nyankopɔn many ye and any kasiye. If we are see, if we are see here, me no me no. A 7 me no say, ye yen Ewrade Nyankopɔn kae no. Ye ni bi. Ni wa yen sem nyina ye panu no any patami no. Na so ye kono ha. Was reaching out to Christ himself, the bread of life. Were never empty. A common and that the little store was sufficient for all. It me one after the wants of the people had been supplied was a sad probably if it's a Christ and his disciple ate together of the precious heaven supply food. Yes, Christo no minyane transididi. Na se yeso si yen sa. Eni yes Christo betina se. Na yebedidi. Ni Ewrade no munyam ene ne kase no ebetina yen so. Ene numre Ewrade nhira yen. Ewrade ntenem kyerɛ yen. Ewrade emma yen ne ese. Emfri na semu na etimi aboa yen. Me de master ne kwa wie kra. The last bit of me cancel say the Lord says give and it shall be given unto you. He that soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly. And he that soweth with blessing shall reap also with blessing. And God is able to make all grace abound unto you, that he, having always all sufficiency in everything, may abound unto every good work, as it is written, he has scattered abroad, he has given to the poor. His righteousness abides forever. And he that supplies seed to the sower and bread for food shall supply and multiply your seed for sowing and increase the fruits of your righteousness. Ye being enriched in everything unto all liberality, which worketh through as thanksgiving to God. In Luke chapter 6, verse 38, 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 6 to 11. Ewrade Nyankopɔn pasam. Wasoma yen dua na yen twa na yen hira. Yen tre yen sem. Yen ma afoforo hu Ewrade Nyankopɔn no nyam enne. Blackness afu hia wo mu a. Ga keke hia wo mu a. Aga kom hia wo mu a. Project give 5 mfa ho hye mu bi. O 5 pounds no. Ebetia ye niema kese. Enyi anu ye bi. Because yes Christo ba obebu saw. Saw ye ma wo nua no nkuman bi akonwa ya amane. Na wo say ye insurance so. Yo na numre ne Ewrade di ama ye ni wo nhyira ye. E wo na do mu nti. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
There said I am more body, Mama pastor, mama kwan mo dwa akasa kire. But few minutes. Obi wo asembisa bi a opeso bisa. Yama kwan na pastor the explanation if any. Obi wo question bi a bit me bisa. Ni anu obi wo question bi ho. And say emo addition mo da ho pefe. Ene na ye bebom paye ebese pastor na wa shira so amaye ewia empanyimfo e the announcement etwaso no aba. So another pastor yenye announcement answer na
yo ebia na mbeka bia why
so you are not in a rush to go anywhere, pastor. Okay. I patch on here.
may meeting but I'm say
Okay. Okay. All right. And any other among pay me answer, pastor, you are not your announcement. And we see trust the pastor Mompire.
My Mompire, yet I was when I'm pine and rain so. I don't know more in shroud the atom ye and was some so. I cheche was some. I'm a who say radi wo tim puntia. O man nipam pim no trans in a moment and ye. What the son how the my and say yen so ye won one. One raho abamu buone da swini na son so mobile. Yenye ye family bia no kremu show nyakopon wo de kronkonen munyam. In the blackness of shons. Eradu no asafu yi chimi ankasa me bompai. E tim popa na de asafu dua ho e wo blackness. So be found se kanea ahran mani pani na hu mani ye no kase. Tina ni misro pass everybody. Obi biara o tie mi e wo lai so. Senen dadwe ne kwanda da tibia ne da wani madija. Senen ne house tibia da wani madija. So to any trauma, son of Fidwe be a munne, blackness of you. Your baby are come as why the man send what do yeti. Shall baby a ma baby and win uncle pong. The okay be an ye, and they will she be eating. Tell him ray. The master said, Bramini would into Timu. I was soon doing no Nano Cassian and Cosson tie and Tim consisted of shame with you. A shame of my end for us neither. I ye any accident and the mountain and ray. Jesus Christ to him. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Pastor, that was.
Amen.
Thank you. And then Pacha, when you have a tremor and not paying for and found this to 12 in Famrayan. Pastor, and I said, I watch it, Pacha, hand there for the